Hey, what's up, people? Pizowell here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the ongoing litigation between Victor Miller, the screenwriter of the original Friday the 13th, and Sean S. Cunningham, the producer-director of the original Friday the 13th, and how the outcome of this litigation could affect the series going forward. Now, if you're unaware of this litigation, or if you're somewhat aware of it but not of the specifics, I'll try and do the Cliff's Notes version to summarize it as best as I can. Victor Miller is looking to execute a clause in the copyright law in which he, as the author of the screenplay for the original Friday the 13th, would be granted the rights back to that screenplay. Thereby, he would control the rights to the title Friday the 13th, as well as all the characters therein, including Jason Voorhees. On the other hand, Sean Cunningham claims that he was the main creative force behind Friday the 13th, and that he had hired Victor Miller as an employee to write the script, a script that was dictated to Victor Miller by Sean Cunningham. And Victor Miller did little more than just put words on paper, and that once Victor Miller had completed the screenplay, he submitted it to Sean Cunningham. Sean Cunningham paid him according to the contract that they had both signed off on, at which time the screenplay for what would become Friday the 13th became the sole property of Sean S. Cunningham. Now, when this litigation was first brought to light, I talked to some people with some inside knowledge pertaining to these kinds of suits, and they both said that these kinds of litigation happen on a fairly regular basis in the entertainment industry, and that the vast majority of them are settled out of court. As a matter of fact, one person I talked to early on in the suit said, "Oh, this thing will go nowhere. Victor Miller just wants a payday." However, at this point, we are far beyond a simple settlement. Both sides have asked the judge for a ruling. So now the future of the Friday the 13th series no longer lies in the hands of Sean S. Cunningham, or in the hands of Paramount or Warner Brothers, or, thank God, Platinum Dunes. The future of Friday the 13th lies squarely in the hands of a judge. And now this suit reminds me a lot of the George Romero, John Russo suit from back in the 80s, in which a judge ruled that George Romero could continue making zombie movies under the title of The Dead. That's why after Night of the Living Dead, every Romero zombie movie was Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, Land of the Dead, etc., etc. The judge ruled that John Russo could continue making zombie movies under the title of The Living Dead. That's why after Night of the Living Dead, every zombie movie associated with John Russo was entitled Return of the Living Dead, Children of the Living Dead, etc. So what the judge very well could do in this case is say, okay, Mr. Cunningham, you own the rights to the title Friday the 13th. I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that Sean Cunningham came up with the title Friday the 13th. As a matter of fact, that's how he got the movie funded, was based on the power of that title. So the judge could say, okay, Mr. Cunningham, you can make as many movies as you want in the future under the title of Friday the 13th. The judge could then say, okay, Mr. Miller, you own the rights to Jason. Now, granted, it's not the adult, hockey-masked, machete-wielding version of Jason that we all know and love, but it's Jason nevertheless. So the judge could say, okay, Mr. Miller, you can go off and make as many movies as you want in the future featuring the character of Jason Voorhees. And now I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention the scope of this ruling, because we've not had a Friday the 13th movie at this point in almost a decade. However, the title Friday the 13th and the character of Jason Voorhees are still very, very profitable entities. Look at all of the stuff, all of the t-shirts, all of the figures, all of the collectibles, all of the memorabilia that bear the name Friday the 13th and or the likeness of Jason Voorhees. So even though we've not had a movie in almost a decade, the property of Friday the 13th. And the character of Jason Voorhees is still a multi-million-dollar a year business, maybe more. Because whenever you buy an officially licensed Friday the 13th product, like this t-shirt, for instance, like this figure behind me, for instance, that money goes toward the owner of the property. Companies have to license either the name or the likeness of Jason Voorhees to put them on a t-shirt like this, or to use them for a figure like the one you see behind me. So whoever owns those rights, they get paid. And again, just look at the plethora of Friday the 13th stuff out there. Figures, lunchboxes, shirts, socks, posters, on and on and on. You're talking about a fortune. So let's say the ruling goes as I've predicted. Sean Cunningham owns the title Friday the 13th. Victor Miller owns the character of Jason Voorhees. How do you make a Friday the 13th movie without Jason? How do you make a Jason movie and not call it Friday the 13th? Now, granted, we had Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy vs. Jason, but I think you see the dilemma there. And who comes out on top if that is indeed the ruling, Sean Cunningham or Victor Miller? And if there are going to be future Friday the 13th movies, how are these two going to come together to reach a mutually advantageous agreement to use each other's property? I'm really interested to hear what you guys think about this whole litigation and what it could mean for the future of the Friday the 13th series, or will there even be a future to the Friday the 13th series, or should there be a future for the Friday the 13th series? Let me know down in the comments section below. I think we're at a really interesting sort of crossroads here, and I think this ruling could definitely affect a lot of long-running series, not just horror series, but just long-running movie series in general. So I think Hollywood is keeping an eye on this ruling as well. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.